autistic child, follow my faith. Here are some suggestions on teaching the elements of faith to your child. Faith is a big part of the lives of many families. It underpins their value systems and it can influence their actions. It provides direction, hope, and comfort in an ever-changing world. It forms a big part of family events and celebrations. And these are just some of the reasons why we want to pass our faith on to our children. And this is not always a wish. It is often seen as a parental obligation. And I'm obviously not including in this discussion parents who want their children to discover their own belief system and to follow their own road. There are barriers to establishing faith based on the nature of disability. For autistic children, language impairments and social impairments can hinder the transmission of core beliefs and also an understanding of the meaning of various religious beliefs and traditions. Faith is spiritual in nature. It is not concrete. It has many abstract elements which can be difficult to grasp, even for neurotypicals. Children with autism are concrete thinkers, concrete speakers. They work off what they experience, often through their senses, especially sight and touch. They need things to be explained to them in simple ways, ways that are adjusted to their level and their depth of understanding. And when explaining anything to them, it usually needs to be free of metaphor and abstraction, or these need to be very carefully explained. Some things are difficult to explain to an autistic child. I'll draw on an example derived from the Christian faith, but I do believe that this challenge extends to other faiths as well. Whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water, welling up to eternal life. And this is from the Bible, the book of John. This is a challenging concept to explain to a disabled child. Water, which once drunk, will eliminate thirst, but in this case, spiritual thirst. There will definitely be limitations in what we can explain to our children and how much of it they will be able to understand. But there are basics that can be done, and these basics are likely to work. Consider your faith as a whole and derive a series of simple prayers and spiritual actions that your child can learn and do every day. Naysayers may feel that this is pointless, but for believers it is not. For anyone who believes in the compassion and the intervention of a higher power, such actions and prayers will be blessed by God's presence and love. In the Christian faith, an example of simple actions could include closing your eyes, putting your hands together in prayer, kneeling or bowing, standing in front of an altar or a quiet space within your home where you have lit a candle or placed a fresh flower as an act of reverence. Begin by teaching a core prayer that can be prayed daily and that contains some of the essential elements of your faith. For example, in the case of Christians, the Our Father is an important prayer. Give your child a book where he or you can write down the prayer and where other prayers can later be written down as well. Keep the book in the place where your child will pray daily. For children who are non-verbal, use augmentative communication devices or other forms of communication, such as Makaton, for instance. As your child reads the line and before he memorizes it, explain the line to him in the simplest way possible. For example, who art in heaven in the Our Father means that God is in heaven. I have included a link to a Makaton version of the Our Father. Makaton is a unique language program that uses signs and symbols and speech to enable children to communicate, and it is often used with and taught to disabled children. Daily prayer is important as it will help your child to remember the prayer firstly and also to establish a habit of prayer. During this daily prayer time, all that your child needs to do is to say the line or lines that he has learned. And if he does not know it as yet, help him to say it or say it with him or say it for him. This practice will also create a space and time within your child's daily routine that is dedicated to prayer. In this way, your child will begin to understand that daily prayer translates as making sure that God has a place in his life. And also remember that this entire process of incorporating faith will take time. And in fact, there may be resistance in the beginning. So it is important to remain firm and to persevere in order to establish the habit. Ritual and repetition are important to children with autism. I feel that there's no reason why these strengths cannot be used for good to establish and strengthen a child's adherence to a belief system. Of course, there are many who will not agree with this, but I can only speak for what I have experienced. I do have a child with autism, and these are the ways in which we have tried to instill and build upon her faith. Older children who are verbal and literate can go on to learn more prayers that reflect the core tenets of their faith, and in this way begin to truly understand what it means to communicate with God. Many children with autism have great memories, an ability to remember things, and this can be an advantage when they are learning prayer. For Christians, prayers such as the Creed are important, and psalms that have the nature of prayer, such as Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd." Follow the same process, which is to explain a line simply before your child attempts to memorize it, and give him all the time he needs to learn the line, whether it be days, weeks, or months. Children can be encouraged to say these prayers in the morning, in the evening, and also at times when they are feeling challenged or worried, and they can also ask for your presence beside them as you pray together. Prayers, however, are not for shouting out in public places or for children to, just speak at any time. They are holy moments of communication with a divine power, and this is what children need to understand, not just for religious reasons, but also for social reasons. Most religious texts, such as the Bible, Torah, and Quran, are written in a language and style that is not always accessible or understood by children with disabilities. If your child is going to read religious texts, try to find authorized versions that are simplified, written in plain, simple language. Such versions are available to Christian children. They are usually written in a story format and will have illustrations. I tried many different books for my child until I settled on one that was simple and had many beautiful illustrations. For children, Christian children who have greater comprehension, the Good News Bible is a good option because it is written in plain, simple English. There are many religious concepts and content in religious texts that will not be understood by your child. This should not be viewed as a problem or as a barrier or for a reason for you to stop. What a child can understand will support his faith. Remember that there are many aspects of faith that neurotypicals also struggle to understand. The book of Revelations, for instance, is a mystery to me. Many children with autism or other disabilities also have an innocence and an honesty that can support their faith. But for those who have practical questions relating to science or to proof, I do not have answers at this stage for that. As believers, we can also pray with our children and pray for them and pray that they acquire the faith that we alone cannot supply and that require God's presence and intervention. When families join a congregation, there is also the possibility that your child will be able to participate in Sunday school or other youth groups. These gatherings are beneficial from both a religious and a social point of view. In these settings, it's also possible that children with disabilities can make friends in a place that is more receptive and kinder towards disability and difference. Provide group leaders or people who lead such groups with enough information to be able to help your child to participate in ways that he is capable of. Children with disabilities may struggle to fit in places such as churches and temples. This is because these environments have very set social rules and specific times for praying, for standing, for sitting and singing. If you do decide to take your child to a church or temple, try to explain to them what to expect, where they are going, how long it will take, what they will need to do. Use visuals where necessary. Remember also that toddlers and young children who are neurotypical face similar challenges, and that they are in fact accepted in these environments, and their families do in fact attend services with their children. Consider your child's verbal and physical behaviors and how to manage them in these situations. But remember also that more exposure can lead to more conformity. If a congregation is inflexible and it is clearly reluctant to include your child, then this is an indication that this is not the correct place for your child to learn to worship. Here, in this slide, I've included a picture of my daughter at one of the nativity plays at our church, and in it she was Mary. She did not have many lines, but she was very proud, and she enjoyed her participation very much.